You're listening to Trueheart. Amy and Scott Mallon dive deep with celebrities, mavericks, visionaries, and real-life heroes to find out what sets their souls on fire. Get ready for some trockings. Here's Amy and Scott.
Hey guys, welcome to the Trueheart Show with Amy and Scott Mallon. You can find our show wherever podcasts are available. You can subscribe. You can even leave us an amazing 5-star review for which we will be eternally grateful.
Totally.
And you can also find us on YouTube and you can subscribe there as well. And hey, listen, if you're somebody who ever uses the internet, I know you are, then join us at trueheart.com and search on our search engine. Here's the thing. It's free, it's easy, and all your searches help power donations to 6 amazing nonprofits that are out there changing the world. They are protecting the planet. They are literally saving lives. They're fighting for equality. They're promoting animal welfare. They're supporting our youth, and they are feeding the hungry. So all you got to do is do searches like you normally would, and you're raising money to help change the world. So trueheart.com, we're pretty proud of it. Come on over and join us and be a part of our community.
Yeah. And anyone ages 8 to 80 years old who has access to a phone, a tablet, or a computer.
You better not have a phone if you're 8.
You know what we're saying. If you got one of those devices and you're searching the web for cute puppy videos, or you're booking restaurant reservations, or buying a gift for a loved one, you're already doing what you could be doing for good. So just come do it with us.
Don't be mad at me, my wife, my love, but I can tell she's a little tired today. I know that, so this is crazy. I'm going to force her to do it. We had a really salty dinner last night. Usually I'm just salty in general, but last night we had a really salty dinner.
I do call him my Salt Bae.
Yes. So I hope you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you want me to tell him about the dream?
If you want,
yeah.
I'm sort of laying it up for you because I think it's too good to be true.
This always happens when I eat things with a lot of salt. I'm super sensitive.
She only has these dreams when she eats salt.
Yeah. So I dream that I'm like a super spy, kind of like Jennifer Garner in Alias. And so I'm like riding on a motorcycle, chasing the bad guys, trying to retrieve this briefcase, with a small hard drive.
Oh, it's a hard drive?
Yeah, with a hard drive, which
has a briefcase and all it has in it is a hard drive?
Yeah, of course.
So because you can tell this is a dream.
They always have the kind of like zero
Is this a hard drive
Halliburton
from like 1987? It has to fit in a suitcase?
No, they have those like zero Halliburton type bulletproof suitcases, and then it's like padded and protected, and then there's like this small hard drive with all of the like secrets that everyone's trying to steal, that whoever gets it can either destroy or save the world. So it's high stakes, there's a lot in the balance, and the future of the world is like on my shoulders. So I'm always like cruising through these amazing like international destinations, like the streets of Paris,
seems like a
or
great
in
dream.
Spain.
What you should be eating salt all the time.
Well, it's fun, and I magically know Kung Fu in the dream, which I love because Scott knows I've always secretly wanted to be a ninja. But yeah, the dream is fun, but it's like so action packed that then I get up a few times in the night because of all the salt and I've got to pee. That's what happens when you eat a lot of salt. And then I'll go back to sleep and I'm like, oh shit, I got to pick up where I left off because I was chasing the bad guys and I still don't have the hard drive, So then it's always like in my dream trying to like find the bad guys and pick up where I left off. But I definitely.
Do you find the briefcase? I never.
Yeah.
There's always a happy ending.
Yeah. There's always a happy ending. I saved the world. I'm not alone though. I do have to say I'm part of the team. There's like, tech experts.
Oh.
No, you're not in this one.
It's
just me. I'm
just
the star.
Sweaty and growling next to you in the bed because I'm so hot from all the salt.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone can relate to this. If you have these like, salt fueled adventurous dreams, or if I'm the only one, could be. But you could pretty much bet on the fact.
It's amazing that you only have this dream when you eat salt. Anyway, that's why I wanted to share it. I just think it's amazing that that's her go-to dream if she eats too much salt at night.
Yeah. And it's probably the closest that I'm going to get to be like a real life superhero, like today's guest, Geoff.
Nice segue.
I know you like that, right? Who's literally like a walking, talking G.I. Joe.
He's doing this for real.
He's amazing.
He didn't eat too much salt and go to sleep. He just literally woke up and he was like, this is my life.
Yeah. So
to get to talk to a real Navy SEAL is pretty dope.
Yes. Geoff is a great friend. He's an amazing human. And yeah, we have so much fun chatting with him today. And we hope you enjoy the conversation. Today's episode is The Hero Within, and our guest is a dear friend, so this show is extra special. Geoff Reeves lives a fascinating life. He served his country as a Navy SEAL for 8 years and deployed overseas, working in or off the coast of 9 different countries in support of the global war on terrorism. During his time in the military, he also served as the officer in charge with the Navy's dynamic parachute demonstration team, the Leapfrogs. He and his teammates performed demonstrations under canopy into stadiums for Major League Baseball, National Football League, NASCAR, and X Games events nationwide. After returning to civilian life, Geoff moved to Los Angeles in pursuit of another goal, acting. Geoff has worked as an actor and host in numerous movies, television shows, commercials, and video games. His need for speed led him to become a professional race car driver, competing in 2 different nationwide series. Currently, Geoff is a high-performance driver and ambassador for some of the world's most coveted luxury automobile brands. If that wasn't enough to keep Geoff busy, he's also the co-owner of ShadowWorks, a veteran-owned company that manufactures wearable gear for military, law enforcement, and civilians who find themselves in harsh environments. Geoff also teaches firearms training across the country. To make a difference in the world, Geoff donates his time to Force Blue, a unique veteran charity comprised of combat diver trained veterans from all branches of the military working to save our coral reefs. So let's get into it with Geoff.
I was thinking about this. Don't laugh, but I was watching Creed 2 a little bit last night. And one of the things about that movie I thought was so interesting, I think you could speak to this better than most people, is this idea of pain. And that we're always trying to avoid pain, which makes sense, right? Human beings don't want to be in pain. But if you learn to embrace the pain a little bit, if you learn to, I'm not going to say like pain, but like if you're spending your whole life just going, I can't be around pain, I don't want to ever experience pain, whether physical pain or whatever.
Or emotional pain.
Like you kind of wall yourself off. And it's a natural thing to want to do. Like people who go through a bad breakup, let's say, I don't want to experience, I don't want to date again for a while. But you are somebody who's really, like you talk about SEAL training, like you can't get through that if you're afraid of pain. So what is your kind of view on like people who, I just think this is a valuable lesson, what's your stance on pain and like, in life and like how you should view it?
You hear all those different sayings like pain is weakness leaving the body, or pain is temporary, glory is forever type stuff. I think it's a way to manage it. Like for me, I kind of feed off of it. Now I'm not talking pain like a broken arm or something like that, but talking where it absolutely sucks to be cold or wet or tired, or when you're working out and you're lifting and it's like the pain, or when you're running a marathon, that pain, whatever that is in your daily life. I have found to embrace it, and I actually feed off of it. I don't make it an enemy of mine. I make it an ally of mine. And for example, when I go work out at this place that I do here in Dallas called Exos, we have top-notch physical trainers, we have top-notch coaches, top-notch nutritionists and everything. And when they say, okay, it's your turn to pick whatever, like the last cardio pushes or the last whatever to finish up, I always look at the trainer and I'm like, what's the toughest one? Like make me suffer through it, because it's going to build you on the back end. If you always take the weak road, the weakness is going to make weak men or women. But if you learn to endure through that pain, push past the pain, it's a mental builder at the same time, because you've found that you're okay. You came out on the other side. And I personally, for me, I just make it my ally. Like I welcome it. Then I just learn to battle through it.
Well, speaking of the emotional pain that people can endure and leaning into that, I want to rewind to Geoff Reeves as a kid for a moment. We talked about many years ago how we both were bullied a lot as kids. And so I'm just wondering, Geoff, do you think that's why you love superheroes so much? Because they fight for justice and they go after the bad guys? Do you think there's any connection there?
I don't know if that's why I like superheroes. I definitely do think that's why I leaned towards the military. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were kids that got bullied way worse than I did. But I had my fair share. I mean, I was a small school. We had 130 plus in my graduating class, and those in high school, and those same people that I had in 12th grade were the same people I had in first grade. So if you got made fun of in third grade, you heard about it for the next 9 years. So there, I got my fair share, but there was and just because I was in Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and all my friends were for a little bit, and then they weren't. But I mean, there's still some people that I do not like from high school, but I think it also made me stronger at the same time. I mean, look, my mom remembers me coming home crying from school, like I didn't want to go back again. And she's like, nope, you're going back to school. But I can't imagine it today, because today with social media, you cannot get rid of it. Because it's constantly being barraged. Where like back when I went to school, you could go home and it all chilled out until you went back in the hallways the next day. But I learned to deal with it. I learned what true friendships were, because I was friends with several different groups. I was friends with the band people. I was friends with the jocks. I was ended up being like in high school, becoming friends with just the arts people, and that I think was a great benefit to me, where I was forced to make new friendships and see how they weaved through the school year, depending on sports, depending on activities that you did. But I think the like of superheroes is because of like what they stand for or what they try to do. And that's one criticism I think I have of cartoons these days is, when I grew up, it was Transformers, G.I. Joe, Voltron, GoBots, etc., He-Man, etc., and there was definitive good, definitive evil, and they showed the struggles through the cartoons. Oh, I got to throw in Robotech. Robotech was a great cartoon, but it always was like good prevails, and then there's a message that came out of it. And then we went to where everybody just gets along, be it Teletubbies or Barney, and we lost a bit of that. And admittedly, I haven't watched cartoons today, but it just seems like we've lost some of that basic education that I was getting through the TV.
Yeah. Well, I only have one response to that, is super deep thought, which is that on HBO Max, they are showing Super Friends, the original. And I highly recommend that you view this as soon as possible.
Okay.
Even the first
Super
episode.
Friends.
I watched it Saturday morning, 9 a.m. I think it was Saturday morning, 9 a.m. And I was telling Maxwell, I didn't there's no Netflix and Hulu and all this stuff, right? So you had to be in front of the TV to watch it.
Yeah, otherwise you missed it.
And I look back, you know how you when you watch something as a kid, you have this fond memory of it, and then you see it again. Like I remember, I don't know if you remember this movie, Lady Hawk. I loved it. It was Rutger Hauer and Matthew Broderick. Great movie. And I went back and watched it. And I was like, this soundtrack is the worst soundtrack I've ever movie. But I remember it's so Super Friends is the same thing. You go back and you watch it. I'm telling you, it is so funny. First of all, they have blatant ripoff of Scooby-Doo. They have a dog called Wonder Dog that goes and talks like Scooby-Doo.
And then they have the Shaggy guy.
The Shaggy look-alike.
That's
so
crazy.
They blatantly rip that off. And the way that Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman interact and talk, it is phenomenal. You just have to go see it.
Okay, I'll watch it.
It's fantastic.
Well, switching gears from heroes on screen to real life heroes, because that's how Scott and I see you. We've said this to you. It's true. We've said this to you in private many times over the years, but I think it's worth saying publicly. And that is obviously that our family is so grateful for your service. And we have the utmost respect and admiration for you and every man and woman who serve this country. And it leads me to want to talk with you about bravery, because I think a lot of people don't understand and appreciate that it takes a very special person to sign up to protect and defend the freedoms of millions of people that they will never meet. And so how did you cultivate that mentality of being a real life superhero? And I know you're modest, so it's not how you view yourself, but how did you cultivate that mentality of just saying, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to protect these people that I don't know them, but I'm willing to give my life to protect and defend their ability to live the life that they want to live.
Well, thank you for that. It's very kind of you. I don't think it's something that you go, I want to be brave, and then you go into it. I think that is a term that other people give you, depending on how they view you. Just like what is a good leader, what is a bad leader, that you earn that from other people. You don't say that you are one or the other. I wanted to join the military because I wanted to be, and it's interesting why people join the military. It could be because they want college money, or they need college money, or they want to get out of a small town from there and go see the world, and they look at the military as an out to earn or get a skill set or earn a new way of life to then move out from where they are. So the reason why people go into the military is as vast as fingerprints, I believe. And then what you do in the military is a reaction, or the job that you choose, or how I should say the way in which you do your job. One is dependent by the job because you have to hit a certain level of it. But then I think of how you act within it is just based upon you and who you are and what you believe in, your morals or values. Like, I was not going to be one to let the guy to my left and the guy to my right down at all. I was not going to have the reputation. I was not going to be, because I didn't want them to let me down. And when you're against a formidable force, or when you are tasked to go in to fulfill a mission set by the government for the betterment of the United States, is why I did it. You have to go do it because that's your job, and I enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed doing it. I'd do it again if I could. Right? That's kind of one of the things, because I got injured and ended up getting out because of it. It's a little kind of dig where I don't think I got out on my terms or when I wanted to. I wasn't finished yet, so it's always been one of the things that it kind of grinds on me. But to sit there and be like, oh, I wanted to go in because I wanted to be brave, that's the person's full of shit if that's exactly if that's why they did it. Because bravery comes out of you being put into certain circumstances. Like, for example, a lot of the movies that you see now between Lone Survivor, American Sniper, things like that, those are all about guys that I either knew or were, like, Chris Kyle was 2 classes ahead of me. So, I mean, we bumped into each other during training. He may have given me a dirty look, or I talked to him briefly. I remember a couple times, but he didn't really know who I was. But he got his reputation because of what he believed in and how he acted. And other people then said he was that particular characteristic. I personally knew Mike Murphy. We went through buds together, he was a couple classes behind me in OCS, so I got to spend time with him there. We were in buds together. And if you don't know, Mike Murphy died on Lone Survivor with many other people, but he was the OIC of that 4-man recon unit. We were through training together before he got rolled back because he had cellulitis, and we were drinking beers together. We went out chasing girls together. We went out to some movies together, had dinner together many times. And he is characterized the way he is because what he believed in and how he acted during those times. Just like all the other guys that were on that mountain, just like all the other guys that came in the QRF bird to help them, but unfortunately got knocked out of the sky. So, I mean, it's kind of the person that says, put me in, coach, and you're just willing to go accept it. I mean, look at the guys in Mogadishu, that whole thing. I had the wonderful ability to go talk to a gentleman that was there, actually in the mob, who was one of the Rangers on the ground. Unbelievable. Now, if you would have said, knowing that was going to happen, you've gone in there because, yeah, I wanted to be brave, probably not. I mean, I know, look at the guys in Benghazi, that whole thing. That the annex that went to go help save the ambassador, and then had to deal with that. I had a real good talk with Chris Tonto Pronto about that whole thing. Was asking him questions like, what did the movie get right? What did the movie get wrong? What about this, or that? And he was just answering questions. It was amazing. And I don't think that talking to him, they were forced in that situation. When you're in that situation, you deal with what comes at you, and whatever people say about you in the back end, they say about you. But
Well, I'm
Wow.
sorry for the military family that you lost over the years, who served this country and sadly didn't make it back.
They're
That's
all heroes. I
they're
mean, it's incredible.
they
You
are
know,
all
Those
heroes.
guys are.
you said
Those guys
something
are. Yeah.
interesting
Those
that
guys are the brave ones. Those guys are the brave ones. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
mentioned leadership, and I'm super interested what you think makes a good leader, because in that profession, those choices lead to life or death. They can lead to life or death, and you know, it's a crucible, right? I mean, you get put, like you said, you get put into that situation. It's like trial by fire, literally. And I'm sure you've had good and bad experiences on that front. I'm just curious, what do you think, for you, what makes a good leader?
Well, to me, a good leader is one that looks after their men and is one that others can follow. Not necessarily look up to, but can follow. Like they trust in. And that's kind of like the 30,000-foot perspective of it all. But for example, like I always made sure that my guys had their pay taken care of, that they had their vacation when they needed it, and they had the gear that they needed to accomplish the mission with. If they were done with their job, they can get out of here, go spend time with your family. But at the same time, I also expected and demanded them to fulfill their job and get it done and get it done, not just done, but done right. So if you had to come back and do it again, then what are we doing? You're not exceeding, you're not expecting my expectations. To be a good leader for them, tactically, it was my job to understand strategy, to understand tactics, to understand all that would take to make up a solid battle plan in order to to make sure that everybody got home. I learned one of the best things that I remember. My OIC when I was a young JO was from my OIC Aaron Johnson, AJ, and I remember we were looking at a map on the table, and we had like cars we were moving around, and we were about to, for an exercise, we were going to go do this hit. And I looked at it, and he looked at me. After everybody left, I just kind of looked at it. And I was trying to figure out in my head, and he goes, "What?" I said, "Oh, nothing." He goes, "No, what?" And I said, "Well, why wouldn't you do it like this or like this?" And he said, "Okay, let's think about that." He goes, "If you do it this way," he goes, "what's my final objective?" And we restated it. He goes, "Okay, now with what we have here, is that still number one?" "Yeah." "Now let's go back here and do it what you're thinking. What's our final objective?" "Well, it's still the same." "Okay, do we achieve this as great as we do this way?" I was like, "Oh, okay." So it's what do I gain? What do I lose in every type of situation? And to understand like that tactics, that strategy, to read basically books. And I mean, I reference a lot of books like Black Hawk Down, like Bravo 20, The One That Got Away, things of the past that I could learn from if I needed to implement. Like in some of those books, I redid all my gear on what I would take in the field because of those books, because of the lessons learned. I also think that as a leader, you shield the men from the stuff that rolls downhill from the top. And when it goes right, it's because of the men. When it goes wrong, it's because of you.
Oh,
And that's just something I tried to stick to and practice every chance I got.
I think that's accountability and honor. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who don't realize that those are important values as a leader. So it's remarkable to hear you say that that's how you treated, the folks that you served with, because that does define a leader.
It's a beautiful microcosm too for like taking that away from the military. Any person who's in like a position of power,
any
or a
industry,
leader, to say when things get done right, it's because of you guys. If things get done wrong, it's because of me. Like that's amazing. I'm going to totally take that one with me. That's an amazing thing it's just an incredible way to perspective, because then it's never about you. You're being inspiring. You're making sure your team has what they need to succeed. And when they do, you give them all the credit.
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying the show. Don't forget to subscribe wherever podcasts are found. And you can also find us on YouTube and get the whole show experience and subscribe there as well. Today's episode was brought to you by Tushy. Are you still wiping your butt with all that toilet paper you hoarded last year? How's that going for you? Let me introduce you to a new way to clean after you handle your business. Meet Hello Tushy. Tushy is the modern bidet that easily clips to any toilet and installs in just 10 minutes. Starting at just $99, Tushy sprays a precise stream of clean water and washes away all of that literal crap that toilet paper leaves behind. Upgrade your bathroom experience by going to HelloTushy, TUSHY.com. That's HelloTushy.com. Tushy saves the environment and reduces your carbon butt print. Tushy saves you money on toilet paper, and Tushy saves your butt. Go to HelloTushy, that's TUSHY.com. Stop wiping, start washing with Tushy.
Trueheart is brought to you by This Saves Lives. This Saves Lives is a ridiculously delicious food brand that gives back. Every single purchase sends life-saving food to a child in need. Co-founders Kristen Bell, Ryan Devlin, Todd Grinnell, and Ravi Patel launched This Saves Lives with a simple motto: buy a bar, feed a child, we eat together. Now with more than just bars, their products contain premium ingredients and are non-GMO, gluten-free, and kosher dairy. Their unique line of kids products all contain one full serving of fruits and vegetables and are safe for school. To buy their ridiculously delicious snacks, head on over to thisSavesLives.com. Trueheart is brought to you by Half United.
For over a decade, lifestyle brand Half United has been using fashion to feed people all over the world. To break the cycle of generational poverty, the community provides gainful employment to local artisans in vulnerable communities who create their handmade and sustainable products. For every Half United product purchased, 7 meals are given to a child in need. Half United has donated over 1 million meals to date. Shop their beautiful jewelry, teas, handbags, and home accessories at halfunited.com and help fight global hunger.
Trueheart is brought to you by Brothers Meatballs. Say ciao to tradition and hello to your new favorite plant-based Italian bistro in Los Angeles, Brothers Meatballs. Brothers Meatballs was founded by brothers and food industry veterans Mauro and Sergio Corbia, who hail from the Isle of Sardinia, Italy. When they joined forces with second-generation Italian chef Mark Middleman, their self-proclaimed brother from another mother, the concept for Brothers Meatballs was born. Mauro was the founder and creator of Mauro's Cafe inside Fred Siegel, a long-standing LA hotspot. Dissatisfied with the amount of plant-based dining options reminiscent of the home-cooked meals their mother once made, the brothers were determined to create a menu so delicious it would appeal to herbivores and omnivores alike. Inspired by the food Mama so lovingly prepared for Sunday suppers, these meatballs are a modern take on a family classic. All menu items are 100% plant-based and made with Mama's secret ingredient, love. Angelinos can order lunch and dinner Wednesday through Sunday at brothersmeatballs.com.
It's interesting. So I work for a company post-military that we do these endurance events. And through these endurance events, I mean, we push people to their max. They're cold, wet, tired. It's all volunteer. They can leave anytime. But through it all, we teach teamwork, effective communication, and leadership. And I'm fascinated to watch what people think as a leader. And they say lead from the front. You see people physically get up front and lead. But in doing so, they can't see what's going on behind them. Or they think that means they've got to take all the weights and they've got to take on every single burden, even though there's 30, 40 people that are also there. Like, what are you doing? You are now the problem of the group because you can't even manage yourself because you have all this weight. Space it out amongst the people. Let them help you. That's what they're there for. Like, leading from the front doesn't necessarily mean physically. Sometimes it does, but it's like also understanding how to accomplish the goal that is at hand the easiest for your men and women in your group, to make it easier for them along the way. But if you're so laden down with burden, you're now the problem, how can you do that? And it's interesting to see how people would go from being one of the group to being the leader, and then also they just flip on them, where they think yelling at them, getting in their faces, being mean and aggressive is leading, or micromanaging. And I'll ask them, "Do you micromanage at work?" And they'd be like, "Well, no." "Well, what makes you?" And like, if you were, would you like it? They go, "No." "Well, how come you're doing it to these people?" And like, if you don't like somebody that you put in charge, then change them out. You're the leader. Put somebody in there you can trust. So it's also a balancing act of being a cheerleader to your group to encourage them to go on, and then being forceful when you need to have to get the job done at the same time. It's a balancing act, but it isn't one or the other, because you're not their friend. They'll run all over you, but you're not a baron where you just like haul off on them every single time. Nobody's going to like you. So it's fascinating to watch what people think is leadership. And I look at them and I'll say, like, wherever you think these leadership abilities come from, it's from people that you've seen in your life that you see as leaders. Doesn't mean they're good leaders or bad leaders, but to you, that is leading. And if that's the case, man, there's a lot of shitty leaders out there.
It's so great to hear you talk about this. I think it's so interesting. And, we talked to a friend of ours, David Liu, who ascended to the top of the corporate ladder in finance. And he just wrote a book, and his whole thing was, and they teach you stuff in school, but the things that you need to learn to move up that ladder, it's like nobody teaches it to you. And I think it's got to do with what you're talking about. I don't know exactly what David, would say about this, but for me, it just seems like these are the kinds of things they don't teach you in school. They don't teach you how to be a leader. They don't teach you how to interact and maintain balance. And I think this is so valuable,
How to be a good communicator,
Yeah.
how to have healthy relationships. I mean, these are the priceless life skills that I think most people learn just trial by fire, just through having these experiences, making mistakes and then going, "Ooh, that didn't work." But that didn't. Do more of that. So there's so much that I think you've experienced, Geoff, in your career in the military that's so valuable and translates into all the other things that, you're doing in your life, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, because it could mean the difference between success or failure, just how you respond to things. And people don't realize, like, maybe habits they have or perspectives that they have are limiting them and keeping them from achieving what they believe they deserve or what they probably truly do deserve.
What? No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so, learning to change your perspective a little bit, because I really do believe this. As long as you're not hurting anybody, there really isn't so much of a right and wrong. There's just your perspective and how you see things and how you grew up and what your experiences were, and that, what you were taught, and that colors how you live. But the beautiful thing about that is you can change your perspective. You can be taught new things. You can learn to create new habits, and you don't have to just live like a piece of stone from the beginning to the end. So, learning these things, like these skills, tools, whatever you want to call them, like life lessons, that's the critical piece. Like, just be open to it. And,
that's the key. If one is willing to be open to it. A lot of people are afraid to be wrong, because then they match that with their identity. But one of the best things that the SEAL teams do is they actually integrate the officers with the enlisted, and no other unit does that in the military. So from the beginning of training, the officers are right there next to the enlisted. We're eating with them. We're birthed with them. Everything. The only difference is that our test scores have to be higher. There's a higher minimum allowance for that. And that the instructors call us sir, right? So, but there's that earned respect, I think, between the enlisted and the officers and the SEAL teams because of that. But then it also, for example, in my platoon, I'm really one of them. It's just like a rank thing, or it's like, that's my job. So therefore, while I may have guys down in boats, motors, and armory, and over at the airloft, making sure everything is good to go and ready for whatever we have to do, the exercise we have to do, the mission we have to do, I'm upstairs and I'm being a PowerPoint commando, because that's my job. like all of that, to be down with them isn't helping the overall platoon, but me being very good at my job, taking all this information, filling out, making these different missions come out, I have to be very good at that. And I don't mean necessarily like making a good PowerPoint. I mean the strategy, the comms plans, the whole logistics piece of it all. Because when you're interlocking boats, vehicles, planes, etc., there's a lot of stuff that has to go on. Make sure you got the proper gear for the mission you need to be on, and you're building that out. But when I'm done with that, and I've done my job, and sometimes many times I'd be there as long or later than the guys doing theirs. But if I happen to get out early, well, then I become one of them. Meaning, I go down to the boats and motors. I go down over to the airloft. I go over to the armor. Like, hey guys, rather than go home, I go down to where they are. Like, hey guys, like I work for you now. What do you need help with? Because if I were to go home and they're still working there, that's pretty crappy. So who needs help where? What can I do? Let's knock this out so we all can go home.
Well, that's being a good leader. Well, we've got 2 more questions for you, Geoff. So obviously service is such an incredible way to make an impact and give back. How do you think we can best honor the legacy of people who've served this country?
We as in society, or we as in...
Yeah, we as a society.
I saw a sign that said, that was pretty interesting. I actually liked it. And you asking that question, a lot of things run through my mind as I'm looking at several flags that flew over war zones in the Middle East and such. But I think it kind of comes up to be the person that an American soldier wants to fight for.
And what does that mean to you? What qualities would that embody? Would someone like you want to risk their life to fight for?
If you were to go overseas and you were to put your life in harm's way, what kind of person would you want to be defending back in your country? And I think that answer is different for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really what you're defending is the idea of America, the ideals of America. You know, the right to be able to say what you want and think what you want, and it's okay. And everyone is allowed to voice their opinion. Again, as long as you're not hurting people or hurting someone, it doesn't matter, you know, what side of the spectrum you're on. You should be able to sit down and have a conversation. And, you know,
I agree with you.
And
you should be able to sit down and have a conversation.
We both want the best for America. And it's like you said when you were talking about with your commander, right? And looking at the map, right? And you know, you're like, well, what if we try it this way? And he's like, you could both look at a map and say, this is a map, and we both agree on the objective. And now let's just figure out the best way to get there. You know, I think that's the key. If we can all just agree on the same kind of, we all want what's best for our kids, best for our country. You know, you start from that place and we can all agree on like what a fact is, then I think you can get there, you know?
And also just that every single person has a right to be authentically who they are. And by being who you feel you are supposed to be, it doesn't infringe upon the right of someone else to be who they feel they are supposed to be. So we can have a different life perspective and choose to, you know, want to have pink hair and a nose ring, or want to love a person of the same sex, or choose a career, you know, that someone might not agree with.
Sure.
And it does in no way impact somebody else's life. And I agree with Scott, you know, as long as you're not hurting other people, whatever makes you happy as a human being should be fine with every other human being, because nobody can judge someone else's experience because we haven't lived it. And that's just our right to go for whatever experience makes our hearts happy.
Look, in Jeff's case, like you're out there in the field, right? And your commanding officer is really the president of the United States, right? You may not have voted for him. You know, he may not have been your choice, but it doesn't matter. You know, this is somebody who in their heart wants the best for America. And you know that. And, you know, you still have to do it, right? I mean, that's part of being in the military, right? It's like you don't have the choice of being like, well, I didn't vote for him, so no, I'm not gonna go on this mission.
Or
I mean,
hopefully
you
her
laugh
one
Yeah,
day.
that won't go over very well.
for her one day.
Yes,
Yeah.
one day.
Or, yeah.
All right. Well, last question, Geoff.
Yep.
You know, in your spare time, you're working with the Force Blue team to help save our coral reefs. So now
Yes.
you're also an eco superhero. Tell us about this important mission.
I mean, I've been scuba diving since I was 20 years old. I was a scuba instructor through Patty, and I've been like, water is just a very comfortable place for me. I learned so much out of that 1 week. It was unbelievable. For example, we've all heard plant a tree, save the rainforests. But what if I were to tell you that between all coral reef, and you think about it, coral only grows between the equator and about as high as Miami in the northern part of the hemisphere, and that same distance on the reverse in the southern hemisphere. But it only grows in areas which can reach sunlight. So your depth isn't really very much, and the ocean obviously goes very deep. So if you think about that small band around the globe and the shallow waters that are able for coral to reach sunlight, and then someone tells you, as I was told, coral provides more oxygen from the earth than every living plant combined.
Wow.
Wow.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Neither have we. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I heard that. I was like, wait, stop, what? And they said that again. And I'm like, I've been in the water for over 20 years. I have never heard that before. I said, yeah, well, they said, but don't get me wrong. It's not that you can't have green without blue, and you can't have blue without green. So they are together. But coral itself provides more oxygen from the world than every living plant combined. I was blown away by that. And then, which makes it more impactful how important coral is. And then when you learn about like the isotropic cascade, where how like coral is the base element of which every living creature in the ocean survives off of, with sharks being at the top. And as scary as sharks may be, they're absolutely necessary in the ocean. It's kind of like the garbage man. They clean up a lot. So, and if you look at all the different layers in between that triangle, the isotropic cascade, and you take out one sliver of that, the rest of it crumbles. And it's fascinating to see that. It's fascinating to hear it. It's fascinating then to go see it, and which makes you, like, when you go out there and you start replanting coral. Like, for example, this past Super Bowl and the one before, off the coast of Florida, we have what's called 100 Yards of Hope. We did it both times, where we actually planted a football field underwater. So you got the end zones, you got every 10-yard line and the perimeter of the football field all underwater, in hopes that grows into a big coral reef over time. And from going back and doing taking pictures of it and seeing it is growing. We've been working with the Frost Science Center down in Florida. We've been working with the University of Miami down in Florida, and those are strategic, very important strategic partnerships with NOAA as well, for use of some of their vessels and some of their working with them as we get grants to help go and affect change into the ocean. And it's for us, like, I love it. Every chance I get, I'm able to, I go out and dive, because it actually feels good. It really does feel good. And it's I mean, you're working. It isn't like you're going on a scuba trip. I mean, you are working. We're slabbing up cement on the back of the boat. We're taking it down and carrying big Home Depot buckets underwater, breathing heavy while you're battling tides and currents, taking it out, replanting coral, like 10 pieces of coral in an area, moving to another location, fighting spiny sea urchin, fighting fire coral all along the way. It's in some areas, but it's great. I mean, and it's fascinating, because when you hear about how all the different layers of the ocean work, and so we'll go down with the different coral, and you think, like, when you go in, or when you get close to an area, every fish scatters, right? If you think about snorkeling or scuba, every fish scatters. No kidding. I'm sitting there replanting this coral underwater, and the coral is like apartment homes to fish and to zippenthili, which actually give color to coral and all that. And as I'm planting this coral on the ground in front of me, or on the substrate in front of me, all of a sudden all these little fish come and are hanging out, and now they're like getting in my way as I'm trying to put this stuff in there. And I just remember sitting back going, oh my gosh, Like they're not running, they are welcoming it. They want this. To see the life come back to it is phenomenal. It really is.
Whisper.
That's amazing.
That
That's
is-
amazing. What you
Yeah.
It is interesting. It's fascinating, Geoff, and we're so grateful that you gave your time to be with us today on our podcast
pleasure.
and for your service to this country and now to the planet. Scott and I are huge advocates to fight for the future of our planet. So it's amazing that you're applying your very special set of skills to now save our coral reefs. And we learned so much about that ecosystem that Scott and I even weren't aware of before today. So you're one of our
check
favorite.
it out, forceblueteam.org. It's cool.
We will.
Team.org.
Yes.
Awesome.
And thank you, Geoff. It was so good to virtually see you. We can't wait to see you in person soon, and then to share this wild and crazy ride that you've been on in your life, doing all of these fascinating things with our community.
Yeah, thanks, Geoff. This was an awesome conversation.
And thank you for having me on. It is great to see you both. I'm tell Maxwell I haven't forgotten about him.
We will.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right. You bet. Thank you.
Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to the Trueheart Show wherever podcasts are found. You can also subscribe on YouTube if you want the full show experience. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a cool review. You can leave us a 5-star review if you're feeling crazy. We'd certainly appreciate it. We'd be forever grateful. And I just wanted to extend a special thank you to our guest today, Geoff Reeves, who is an awesome human, a real life hero, and super inspirational. So thanks for joining the show.
And thank you again, Geoff, for your service. And we want to thank all of our veterans and current active duty servicemen and women for their service and sacrifice. We wouldn't have the freedoms that we do or be able to live the lives that we all are able to enjoy without them. So if you see a vet or a serviceman or woman, please extend your heartfelt thanks.
Amy always does that, by the way. It's something I love about her. She sees someone in uniform, she always says special thank you, and they really appreciate it. So if you see somebody, go out of your way to say something. It means a lot.
It's important to recognize people who literally are risking their lives for us on a daily basis. And that goes for firefighters and police officers and medical professionals as well. So just show your gratitude, express your thanks. It means a lot to everyone who's giving so much to our country. And we have an incredible season with great guests. So you want to keep it locked, as I like to say here. Keep it locked. Don't go anywhere. I mean, do some other stuff in your life and then
like
come back to us.
Door,
but
keep it locked.
And yeah, come back next week for a great show. And of course, we want to remind you that you are invited to join our Trueheart community, where we're changing the world with every search. We donate 80% of our net profits to our 6 amazing charity partners: Smile Train, Action Against Hunger, Global Green, 4 Paws for Ability, PFLAG National, and Variety Boys and Girls Club. They are doing amazing work to literally save lives, feed the hungry, protect the planet, promote animal welfare, fight for equality, and support our youth. So it's free and easy.
Search, you're basically donating to them every time you do a search, which you're doing anyway on any other search engine. You're going to get the same great results, but now you're actually changing the world.
Yeah, so come search with us. We'd love to have you, and have a beautiful week. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.